The flamboyant plume, the commanding beard, the legendary rides that encircled the Union Army. These are the hallmarks of a single, unforgettable figure. James Ewell Brown Stuart, known to all as J.E.B. His wartime exploits were extraordinary, but he would not live to see the conflict's end. First, be sure to like and subscribe to Winlink Deep Dive to support our investigative community. The month of May 1864 began with Ulysses S. Grant personally directing the Army of the Potomac under George Meade in a new offensive against Robert E. Lee, the Overland Campaign. Rather than retreat after facing Lee's fierce resistance in the wilderness, Grant maneuvered his forces south and east. A crucial part of this shift was placing Philip Sheridan in command of the Union cavalry. A disagreement on strategy immediately arose. Meade believed the cavalry's role was reconnaissance and screening the Army's movements. Sheridan, however, intended to use his superior numbers and firepower to seek out and destroy the enemy. During a planning session, Meade cautioned Grant and Sheridan about the speed and effectiveness of the Confederate cavalry led by Stuart. Sheridan interpreted this as a personal challenge and requested authorization to neutralize the Southern Cavalier. The Union horsemen then began a swift movement south, directly toward Richmond. Stuart shadowed the Union column, aware he was outnumbered and waiting for the perfect moment to spring a trap. Sheridan's troops reached Beaver Dam Station on May 9th, destroying railroad cars and tracks before moving out early on the 10th. Stuart arrived just after the enemy's departure. While the loss of supplies was concerning, his greater worry was for his family who were staying there. Finding his wife Flora, son Jimmy, and daughter Virginia safe, Stuart shared a few precious moments with Flora, kissed her, and said a final goodbye. He rode relentlessly throughout the 10th, stopping only for a brief 3-hour rest in the early hours of May 11th. Roused by a staff member with news that the enemy was still advancing, Stuart mounted up and resumed the pursuit. By 10 a.m., the Confederate cavalry had managed to get ahead of the blue columns near Yellow Tavern and prepared to make a stand. Anxious about Richmond's defenses, Stuart dispatched his aide, Henry McClellan, to the city to ask Jefferson Davis's military advisor, Braxton Bragg, if they could withstand an attack. This left Stuart with a critical decision. If the defenses were weak, he would have to block Sheridan's path to Richmond. If they were strong, he could hit the Union flank, sandwiching them between two forces. Before McClellan could return, Stuart chose the latter, deploying his men along the Telegraph Road, facing west to strike the Union flank as it passed. But Sheridan's target wasn't Richmond, it was Stuart himself. His mission was the elimination of the Southern cavalry. The Union horsemen discovered the Confederate battle line just before noon on May 11th and launched a ferocious assault, with the hardest fighting focused on the Confederate left under General Lomax. When McClellan found Stuart around 2 p.m., the left flank had been pushed back, forcing the entire line to face south. A lull settled over the field around 4 p.m., which was broken by another powerful Union charge of mounted and dismounted troops. Stuart remained a visible presence, whistling as he rode his iron-gray horse, General, behind the thin gray line. At several points, Union troopers breached the Confederate line. Stuart personally rushed to plug one gap, leveling his pistol and firing at the enemy. As he rode forward to deliver another volley, a dismounted Federal soldier turned and fired his .44 caliber pistol. The bullet struck Stuart in his right side, just below the ribs. Stuart slumped in his saddle, but did not fall. Clutching his wound, his hat tumbling to the ground, he was surrounded by his staff who tried to lead his horse to safety, but the animal reared and shied away. They then helped the general dismount and propped him against a tree until another horse could be found. Once a replacement was secured, Stuart, with assistance, remounted and rode to the rear. He was eventually placed in an ambulance. Before it raced toward Richmond, one of his staff officers, Walter Houlihan, whom Stuart affectionately called Honeybun, came to see him. Jeb asked, "Honeybun, how do I look in the face?" Houlihan replied, "General, you are looking right well." "You will be all right." Stuart answered, "Well, I don't know how this will turn out, but if it is God's will that I shall die, I am ready." Though only about 13 miles from Richmond, the ambulance was forced to take circuitous routes to avoid the fighting. After dark, the wounded general arrived at the Richmond home of his brother-in-law, Dr. Charles Brewer, on Grace Street. Medical help was limited. They could only apply ice to the wound. His caretakers tried to telegraph Flora at Beaver Dam Station, but Sheridan's men had cut the wires. A physical messenger had to be sent, and she did not receive word of his wounding until around noon on May 12th. Throughout the night of the 11th, Stuart was in pain but remained alert and lucid. By the morning of the 12th, sensing the end was near, he began putting his affairs in order. He told McClellan, "I wish you to take one of my horses and Andrew Venable the other. You are the heavier rider." When McClellan corrected him, saying Venable was, Stuart replied, "Then let Venable have the gray horse and you take the bay." He then instructed McClellan to look inside his hatband, where he would find a small Confederate flag sent to him earlier in the war by a lady from Columbia, South Carolina, and asked that it be returned to her. He directed that his spurs be given to Miss Lily Lee of Shepherdstown, and his sword be passed to his son. Around that time, President Jefferson Davis entered the room and asked, "General, how do you feel?" Stuart answered, "Easy but willing to die, if God and my country think I have fulfilled my destiny and done my duty." As the afternoon wore on, Stuart's pain became agonizing. He asked Dr. Brewer if he would survive the night. "No," Brewer said gently. Around 7 p.m., everyone in the house gathered around his bed. They sang his favorite hymn, "Rock of Ages." Stuart tried to join but was too weak. When the song concluded, he declared, "I am going fast now. I am resigned. God's will be done." He then lost consciousness and his breathing ceased at 7:38 p.m. Flora would arrive at 11:30 that night. A funeral was held the next day, and he was laid to rest in Hollywood Cemetery in Richmond. There was no formal military display. All the troops were engaged in battle. Yet the distant booming of cannon served as a fitting salute to the fallen commander. Subsequently, we will upload a video on Stuart's ability as a cavalry commander very soon because his mastery of mounted warfare was simply unparalleled. No other officer on either side so perfectly embodied the traditional roles of the cavalry as JEB Stuart. If you found this historical account compelling, please subscribe to Winlink Deep Dive for more deep dives into pivotal moments of the Civil War. Thank you for watching.